Hello. The window's open, so please forgive all the noises that are in the background. It's hot, hot, hot here. Um, just wanted to have a look at these fine fellows that have arrived in the post completely unexpectedly. I'd forgotten that I'd ordered them. It's been a long time, and I suspect something about the cleanness, the brightness of the cast suggests to me that they were cast very recently, that they've been hurriedly put in the post, and in fact I've still got a pack owed to me apparently that are going to follow. These are Tanatus miniatures from Nick Ayer's North Star military figures they're available from. And they were reviewed by Josfa Thorbjorn some time ago, in April actually. And I must say I put a comment on there, and partly I'm doing this because I feel justice should be done. I was a bit critical. I thought that some of these arms on some of these guys are a little bit overstated, heavy. That wasn't a good example. They can be a little bit strong, those sword arms that are raised in a lot of these. But they're going to fall over like mad because they haven't been based properly yet. Now that I've got them, most of them, I revisited the website and thought, well, I think I should have some of these in the collection. They're all falling over like mad now. And I'm really glad that I did get them because I think they are rather wonderful. The thing is, the slight enlargement of the arm occasionally to facilitate safe casting, I suspect, is a relatively... it becomes just part of their style, really. And it's interesting to talk about them in terms of style. This is why I want to talk about them, really. They are seemingly very naturalistic figures, and yet they are actually highly stylized figures. They remind me very much of mid-20th century figurative British sculpture. Something in them does that, and I find it hard to say exactly what it is. For those that are interested in fine art, it's people like Elizabeth Frink that I'm talking about. Geometry of fear people, the post-war period of nuclear fear, and it came out in the sculpture in these rather larval, impossible to stand that up, figures that were very romantic. Similar things were happening abroad as well. There's some interesting Italian sculptors at the time, and in a way this reminds me of them even more, because of it's more depictive of natural surfaces and less abstracted into just sheer material. Anyway, this is all getting a bit theoretical. These are little 28mm wargame miniatures after all. But I really do like them. They've got interesting proportions and interesting exaggerations. Nearly all the heads are thrust forward, as you can see. They all stand rather four square, with the weight mostly pretty equal on both feet. So that is like a limitation, but again it's part of their sort of statement of style, or their tribe that they belong to. And to me, I would very much make these a faction in a wargame campaign, I think. And that's what I intend to do. Quite small heads compared with most manufacturers. The heads tend to be too big. Even when helmeted, heads here are not large. Fantastic features on some of these figures. Can I focus on this? Apparently not. There you go. Is it? Wonderful. Individuation as well, although a lot of them have a great deal of similarity. There's a lot of slight variations in some of the others that I'll show you in a moment. I love these archers, particularly this one with this extraordinary, you can see how the head is really forward, and big arm again, but okay, and shoulders, and you can see how the back is bowed as much as the bow is, and belly thrust out, and he's, you know, you can only really see it when he's standing, and he won't stand for me now. Yeah, those archers are rather beautiful, I think. They're all generic. They're meant to be Saxons and Picts, and it says on the website that the range will be enlarged, but to me they're very generic kind of early medieval, so-called Dark Age period. And here's one that I've not shown yet, which is totally refusing to stand up without being based. And sorry about the handheld nature. I've tried, my tripod has completely given up. So there's a lot of repetition of this holding the sword or the spear up like this, giving a hurrah, and there they go. And but I rather like that. I rather like relaxed poses, pre-combat poses that are not, you know, in full action. And to me, they're much more sort of relevant when you see them, the figures either on your shelves or actually most of the time even on the tabletop. That's more a more interesting and believable pose. Just to get into detail a little bit, let's choose a really nice one. This one is one of my favourites. They have the most fantastic chainmail. I don't know whether you can see that, but it is very finely wrought chainmail. I think it's probably the best 28mm chainmail I've ever seen. There you go. And it's not just that the links are very finely wrought, it's that there's also a kind of a, I don't know, it sort of drapes itself when the figure has got a paunch, as in the case of this hornblower, this signal man. It sort of drapes itself interestingly, believably, over the paunch here and hangs loose in a sort of a wonderfully naturalistic way. And in fact all the drapes are like that, and that is a characteristic of those Italian sculptors I was telling you about, by the way, of the 40s and 50s, to lesser extent of the British ones. Anyway, so very fine detail generally. The straps are very narrow, fine, interesting helmets. They're all of this very sort of rounded, close to the skull sort of form, which adds to the style of these characters. Swords are very thick, and as Joseph pointed out, they're about the same thickness as the handguard, so that's close to the swords of the time, but nevertheless there should be a bit of handguard there. But it's all part of the look of the figure and is all kind of believable to me. None of these have, I've got most of the range here actually, apart from the pack that's owed me. None of them have cloaks, and I think that's good, really. Although cloaks add an interest in figures, and they are good at pointing out command figures. Maybe they would be mostly discarded before battle. I mean, you would be encumbered by a cloak, so yeah, none of these have that. Here are two bunches of spearmen. Now these, unlike the previous ones, don't have the spears and swords, spears and shields attached as part of the casting. They come with three slightly varied shields on a sprue like that, and spears are separate. And I haven't tried putting them together yet. They look fairly easy. Personally, I really do like the thing of them all being cast in one piece and having that robustness, and that being sort of part of their sculptural language as well. Nonetheless, from the photographs on the website, these are gorgeous figures. Here, that thing I was saying about the drape of the male, look at this here. I think that's rather wonderful, actually. It may look a little bit distorted from some angles, but it's on the edge, and then suddenly it falls into place, and it looks great. They're called Tanatus, and they've got a bit of an atmosphere of death about them. I think it's a variant of Thanatus, the Greek personification of death. Maybe I'm reading a bit much into them here, but nonetheless, I do think that they do have an atmosphere, a sort of Dark Age atmosphere of something dire, and as if they've, emerged from some fenland, either on a raid or to defend their land. And that atmosphere about them I really love. Here are three cavalry, and the horses are, I think, superb again. Almost, well, probably they are unmatched. All variant. I should have said all those spearmen earlier were all slight variants, very close, but they'll look great together en masse, because of that, because of just the slight variations of angle of arm and weaponry. And these three guys similarly, beautiful, beautiful horses, quite large actually. Generally I like smaller horses, and I don't like tree trunk spears, so some of the spears will have to be worked down. These are cast, interestingly, with their shields, but with spears separate. So every sort of variant here. Let's have a closer look. Yeah, beautiful. I think they're beautiful, actually. Very interesting figures. At once, as I say, naturalistic and strangely, poetically stylized. So that's it, really. I probably meant to say other things, and I can't remember them now about these chaps, but I do recommend them. They're rather wonderful. Cleaning them up has been a pleasurable break from painting Mongols, as far as I've been able to paint Mongols, because at the moment I've had a lot of interruption, and the family holiday is about to be sprung on me and all that. So these were such a joy to come in the post as a surprise. I recently got a coach to the Forest of Dean and back, and as one does, got some reading on the way, and I bought this month's history magazine. And just as a quick extra, there's this article in this one. It's very brief, really, and quite generalised, but about Ragnar Lothbrok, and it does summarise what can be said for sure, and how far we can think that there was a real Ragnar Lothbrok, and a little bit about the sons of Ragnar. And it just makes for a good read, and I thought I would point that out. This is in the July issue, and I got one which was in a bag, and it had the story of the English Civil War with it for free, which was rather wonderful to have. I kind of still think of the English Civil War as a continuation, really, of Saxons and Normans. So I know that's probably very unfashionable historical viewpoint, but there you go. Anyway, I'll leave you with these guys, and thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you will. Cheers.